Good afternoon, everyone. It's Captain Chandler with your police department. I am here with City Manager Kenny Martin with the weekly Live with Kenny update about all the good things in Mount Juliet and what we have going on, and just a general insight of stuff coming from city government and what's happening in our wonderful community. So, Kenny, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, my friend. Glad to see the sunshine today. We've got a lot of good rain this week. It's absolutely beautiful day out there. Hoping everybody's having a good Friday.
Yeah, I was out there earlier washing the patrol vehicle, getting it ready for this afternoon into the weekend, and it looks like we're going to have a lot of good sunshine and low humidity, so it's going to be absolutely awesome. To everyone that's joining, there's about 63 watching right now. Thank you for joining us. Just leave a comment that you're here. Let us know that you're here and watching, and like the broadcast and share it when you can. But again, thank you for being here. Kenny, I know COVID continues to happen in our community. We continue to follow the precautions to keep ourselves safe as a city and in city government with police and public works and city hall employees and the fire department. And we had COVID testing this week too. So overall, how's the COVID situation in our community?
Well, it's been great, and we watch the trends. We're concerned about our community as everybody else is. And I know there's some that look at this situation with the COVID-19 differently. Everybody looks at it differently in some shape, form, or fashion. But our job as city employees and yourself, of course, the police officers, put public safety first. So we're just trying to put things out there that helps folks. Like with the mask usage, we're not mandating anything, but we're strongly encouraging it. We're encouraging people to be respectful of one another. If somebody chooses to wear a mask, that's great. If they choose not to wear a mask, that's their right to do so. But we encourage us to try to look out for one another. Again, we can't do everything for the whole world, but we can definitely do the right things in our own community, look out for one another. Because I respect the fact not everybody wants to take the precautions to the level maybe another person is, but we need to do so. And I'm proud of what folks have been doing. We need to keep that up to keep these numbers going down and keep our citizens safe. So the testing was great. I want to thank Kroger again, the Wilson County Health Department, the Mount Juliet Police Department, and everybody that participated in that. You don't have to participate. Hopefully we can have some more testing in the future. It's there just as another service for the citizens. That's what it's there for. So if you choose to be tested, but definitely continue to do the hand washing, the social distancing if you can, the mask wearing, and just keeping yourself safe until we can get through this and get a vaccine in place.
Absolutely. And we have masks available here at police headquarters for free. They were provided by the Tennessee Department of Health. They're in our lobby. You can just walk in and grab one 24/7 here at the police department. And I know City Hall has masks still too within the lobby, and y'all are open from, I believe, 8 to 5, where folks can come in to grab masks at City Hall. But we continue to follow the governor's plan as he releases restrictions. So we just follow that in our community. And to a T, we follow the governor's plan. But, out and about in the community, you can tell that social distancing is still happening. Restaurants are doing what they need to do. Of course, groups can come back together if it's less than about 50 or less people. And it just seems like we're getting a little bit back on track. They're continuing to watch the numbers. And as those numbers continue to show good numbers in relation to the decline or steadiness of it, then I'll see. My guess is more stuff will continue to get more relaxed in the way of restrictions, as long as we continue to wash those hands, use disinfectant, and for those who want to wear the mask, wear your mask.
Absolutely.
Great. With the local businesses, I was reading something earlier about a lot of development in the community, and you think that we've had the tornado that happened, we have COVID that has occurred, but Mount Juliet continues to grow in a lot of areas, and we have new development coming on board. Like the I don't know if people remember the Danner Karate structure retail mall on Lebanon Road, just east of Novelville Road. I see there's construction material. What's going on at that location?
It is. If anybody remembers that center, it's going to be almost identical to what it was before. It was L-shaped. The reason they did that is because there's already a pad there, and that saves some expenses. And they've been very deliberate, I guess you'd say, what they're going to build there. And they've got a salon, 2 different salons actually. They're going to join forces and come to Mount Juliet. So we'll probably get somewhere between 30 to 40 new jobs. And that's exciting because, the people that were going to this particular salons in Hermitage or Donaldson where they were at, they'll now come to Mount Juliet. And that gives them opportunity to patronize businesses while they were here. And the customers that were already going there instead will come to our community, which is a good thing. Plus, you'll get a beautiful new building. We'll have some additional spaces in it for other people to open up businesses.
Okay.
And that's exciting. So instead of looking at this old site, that's been sitting there stagnant for so long,
Sure.
and see that lumber piled up on the site, I get excited about it because that's an investment in our community, that's jobs in our community, and there's a lot of folks out there that are in those businesses. Just give them a place to work. It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a while now since that building burnt down, and it's been a hole in that section. Like you said, there's been a concrete pad just sitting there, and it's been fenced in to prevent people from going in the area. So it's awesome. When I saw the construction material, I was like, man, that's great. We're going to have a brand new, pretty building in town where businesses can go. And I think one of the businesses that was mentioned was Indulgence Salon and Medi Spa.
Yes.
Moving from another community to our community to open up this business here in town.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you speak of new businesses, it makes you think of, and sometimes these businesses, it's not necessarily something that just has got a wow factor to it necessarily, but every new business or every business that's allowed to open back up and prospers, that's a blessing on our community in so many ways. To give you an example, where the old, I think it looks like a little country restaurant store that used to be up by the Exxon Tiger Market. People noticed that got remodeled in some way. And the reason it did that is the owner wanted to try to recruit new tenants. It had, I believe it was a vitamin store or something in it from before. Right. And that vitamin store relocated, so it left that space empty. We were able to talk the owner into investing in that building. And, we're getting a new Subway restaurant that's going to be going in there just as one tenant. Well, that new tenant, of course, will recruit some other tenant to fill in the rest of the space.
Sure.
And the Exxon's been bought by 7-Eleven, so to get a bit of a facelift and some new life as well. And so those are exciting things that one business has a way of creating synergy, and then it just goes on from there. And any time of something positive is always a good thing in our community.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of gas stations, the gas station at the corner of Lebanon Road and Mount Juliet Road was recently purchased, and I believe that new owner plans to develop that out as well with a new tenant.
He does. That's the old Capital City Market, and it's sat there for years, and it needed a facelift. So the good thing about it is, even if something goes back in that existing building, whoever does that, depending on whatever kind of business it is, be it a gas station, convenience market, or some other type of business, they're going to invest some money into that to freshen it up, to make it look better, which only enhances our community.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing. And the folks that bought this live in the community, so they want to see it do well.
Sure, absolutely. A lot of our business owners live here or in the area, and I think you mentioned before, you may see what you think is a national chain, but that national chain is likely owned by someone who lives in the community or in the area. So when we support, even though we support that national chain, say like Slotsky's that's now in town, I believe that's owned by someone who lives in the area in our community. So we continue to support local, even though it may seem like a national chain.
Yeah, you're right, Captain. It's odd that you'd mention that because I just spoke to Mr. Hunt earlier. He's trying to get open. He's got a few little tweaks he's got to deal with the planning department as far as his landscape, and we're going to try to get him worked out on that. He's ready to open. I think he's got his staff hired. All they like doing is the monument sign. So if you see a lot of brick in the parking lot, that's what that's there for. But he lives right here in our community, right here in our city, and he has 2 restaurants. And he's just like any other mom and pop business. He just reached out and got him a franchise through Slotsky's.
Right.
But, the only way he makes a living is if we patronize him. And it makes you think of Mr. Ray Daniel at Chick-fil-A.
Right.
He invested all that money into getting that dual drive-through at that restaurant. He's one of the finest men you'll meet. Mm-hmm. He's invested heavily in his community. He loves this community, and he can't survive without folks like us and those out there watching.
Sure. And Chick-fil-A, supports us heavily. I know at the police department, anytime we have a need to feed our officers, to feed firefighters if they're on an extended incident, all it takes is one phone call, and they're getting Chick-fil-A nuggets and sandwiches and tea, whatever we need.
That's right.
Chick-fil-A for free, but they're able to do that because we as a community support them so well, they can turn their support for other needs.
Yeah, and that hometown connection, you're more apt to get that from a mom and pop business, local businesses,
Mm-hmm.
than you are the larger businesses. So we can't thank them enough.
Absolutely. And speaking of local owners and local businesses, the Sellers, what I'm calling the Sellers area, but it's Mount Juliet Road near the railroad tracks. A lot of development is happening, really going to enhance that area. And I think you may have some ideas of some recently purchased buildings and maybe future plans. I know there was rumor that there was a plan like to tear down an historic building. That's not happening, right?
That is not happening. Matter of fact, I met with Mr. Sellers today, and what's exciting about that property, a lot of people don't realize the former funeral home that was there was actually an old bed and breakfast inn from many, many, many years ago. And so when Mr. Sellers moved his funeral home across the street, he decided, he sold that property and then he bought it back. and then he's going to redevelop it. Well, the Christmas store, the reason it got delayed, of course, there's so much going on with the tornado and COVID, but in particular, a lot of the rain that we've had and the bad weather. So he got the project behind. So instead of opening in November or December of this year, unfortunately, it'll open up spring or summer of next year. And the reason they're doing that is they want to get it right. They want to get the store just right. They want to get the personnel right, the person that'll run it right. So when it opens day one, it gets that first good impression that you want. There's also Dunkin' Donuts going in there. So when you think of coffee and breakfast and things of that nature and donuts, it's on the perfect side of the road going toward the interstate in the morning, because a lot of folks, they head to Nashville. They want to take donuts to maybe their friends at work. And plus, it's just a great spot right in the heart of downtown Mount Juliet. So if you want to walk there, it's where a lot of our business district is. So excited about that. But there's a total of about 8 acres there. So over time, what his vision was, that little red brick building, if you think about it, was on a bit of a postage stamp. So the person that owned it before, it only had about 8 parking places. The good thing about Mr. Sellers buying that building and bringing it into his overall development is that those tenants are more apt now to not only survive, but prosper probably tenfold beyond what they would have before, because they can have more people come patronize their business once that additional parking is added. And I know this gentleman, and I know that what he'll do is he'll invest in the building. Now, what he's thinking long term is maybe some type of museum, maybe even an entertainment thing. We've kicked around all kinds of ideas, and I want people to be excited, because it doesn't mean any of it will happen. But the fact that we're having the conversations about a museum, an entertainment venue, bowling centers, things of that nature, you've got enough acres there to do it. What's the thing about a bowling center or an entertainment center like that is that would be a nighttime type thing. So all that parking will be available during the daytime, and it draws people to your town. So if that was to happen, the 2 tenants that are in the red brick building would either stay there if that wasn't added on to, or they'd be incorporated into the overall development. But I can just about assure people that, and I understand the concerns. You've got 2 local business owners that are well respected, well loved in this community. And the first thing you hear about maybe is that somebody's bought the building and going to, displace them and tear the building down. That building, per the owner, is not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to be enhanced.
That's awesome. And that whole area has been enhanced lately. It used to be the old, I can't remember the name, but it was an old industrial site that really burnt down years ago, and they moved to another spot. So you just had this open, old industrial site, and it's really being beautified by the new residential development, by all that the Sellers owners have done with those different buildings that are nice, beautiful buildings. So it's really nice to see in the heart of town. It really cleans that area up. Of course, our new clock tower that's out there that we're able to change the colors. We recently turned it blue for Police Memorial Week, and it was red, white, and blue over the Memorial Day weekend. And it was awesome just to drive through town and see that, because it's like a beacon supporting whatever cause is at the time. And over the weekend through Memorial Day, it was red, white, and blue, just showing our honor as a community back to those who served and gave their life for our nation to keep this nation free. And it was just awesome to see.
Yeah, that's what the things I love, the vision that the city leaders and staff has today, and our citizens, the feedback we get. The old S&S industry site where you're talking about, where the new town-owned apartment complex is coming, and it's going to be beautiful when it's all said and done. That was an industrial site. It was still zoned industrial. So what's good about that, when it changed from industrial to basically more residential CTC type of development, is that they're required to do it out of brick and stone and things of that nature. So it enhances all those businesses around it and our downtown district. And plus, it's a huge investment in our community. And you can see it's already paying dividends with the RTA expansion of the parking lot. That's nearly $1 million upgrade to our train stop here in the city of Mount Juliet for our citizens and those that utilize that station outside of our community. And when it's not being used, we get to use it. So our old downtown district's being enhanced as a result of other investments in our community that didn't necessarily come from the city. And that's why our city is so diligent about reaching out and trying to get grants. A lot of these sidewalks and things that you see being built in our community, they're not having to be paid for per se by taxpayers of Mount Juliet. Even though we're all taxpayers and we pay in some shape, form, or fashion, if it comes from federal or state funds, it's not a direct impact to our city. It's indirect, and it gets put in and we benefit from it. And it's a major enhancement on our community. The traffic light, for example, that we talked about at Northwest Rutland, that's going to make our community safer, make it better for ingress, egress. And that didn't cost the city anything. And so some of the sidewalks you're seeing on Blendon Parkway, there were a grant, and the sidewalks you're seeing going in now at close to Red Robin Burgers, that was through a development. So that was no cost to the city. So those are things that excite me, because every little thing you do, it's sort of like that thing, it's every little thing you do to make something better. It may not seem like much on its face value, that one small thing.
Mhm.
But if it's making you better, it's better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like you mentioned, the grants and the Greenway, the town center Greenway, which all connects to this new, center of town area that's being developed. It's kind of all interconnected some way somehow. But as we work on, I know there's a team in the city, the BPAC committee, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and they work hard on trying to research these grants and get the grants approved. And then we see the product of that, which is more sidewalks, which is greenways to allow people to walk, bike, run in a safe path, so they're not having to get on the roadways. And that's awesome. And I know that greenway is probably going to be open if the weather works out for us at the end of June, early July. It should open up for us.
That's exactly right. We get some good weather, and you were speaking about the things that we do to beautify our city. Sometimes people wonder, well, what about the banner poles and the trash cans and the swings and things of that nature? Well, those things are come from what's called the City Beautification Fund, and that's basically a fund that our elected body set up. It's almost like marketing if you think about it. Some cities spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for just marketing their city through magazines and commercials, things of that nature.
Sure.
We look at what our marketing is what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of that ambiance that you're creating. So we've done a little project here recently, and I'm pretty excited about it. And some people may look at it and go, "What is that?" And it's our little piano thing that we talk about. It's called a Play Me Piano. It's up near Robinson Park on Mount Jet Road. So you probably say, "Well, how did I get there?" Well, if you utilize in Robinson Park, you just simply make the little path up to the piano. And yes, I know it's by the park and it's by the roadside, but it's a visual attraction just to make you smile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a useful attraction if you just want to stop and you've got your little kiddos with you and just beat on the keys or take pictures by. That's what it's for. The piano was free. The concrete pad was free. The pavilion and the pad was donated by Tim Leeper of Tim Leeper Roofing.
Right.
We put quite a bit of money in that, and we're most appreciative.
Absolutely.
The only thing the city had to pay out of our City Beautiful Fund, thankfully, was for the artist to paint the piano, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's got a lot of history on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's neat as can be. And I know there's some captain that won't like it. They may look at it and go, "What in the world's that?" Just like the general store or just like the car display up by the middle school. We get that. We totally do. What we're trying to do is create a little bit of something for everybody. And if today in this time with all that we're dealing with in this country and in this world right now, if you think about what we've dealt with ever since the Christmas parade and with the COVID and the storms and what you're seeing on the news daily, we need something to smile about. And if that piano or anything we do in this city or what you guys do with your birthday celebrations with the fire and the police department and going by and congratulating these seniors and the folks in the assisted living facilities and nursing homes, we need that. We need that from one another. And I can't say it enough. I wish this message could reach millions of people. We need that for one another, and we've got to start being better to one another. I don't care if it sounds hokey. It can sound hokey. We need that. So if there's any negative comments that come as a result of the piano, I'll gladly accept them because I know that you're not going to please everybody with everything you do. But please know what we're trying to do with some of the things we're doing here may seem this small, but if it makes a difference in somebody else's life, it's a good thing, especially when it comes at such a small cost, just like the clock tower, just like what we're doing at RTA Park,
Mm-hmm.
so what we're doing at Eagle Park. And, that's those are kind of things we need, and we have to lift each other up. If there's every time we needed it, it's now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get joy by, driving and patrolling the city, and I see families and teenagers and all different age groups enjoying those different areas, and they take photos by it. It's neat to have photos, and with Facebook, with Instagram, with all of social media, you're always trying to find that spot to take a cool photo, to share it. And then when they share that photo, other people see it and they know it's in our community.
Yeah.
And when I saw the piano paint, I was going to ask you, but you already answered that. I was painted beautifully, and I was going to ask you who painted it, but now I know, I'm sure it's the same person that painted the
Mount Juliet mural.
Caboose. Yeah, the same caboose thing. But it's a beautiful, it's really art. It's a beautiful piece of art, and I see plenty of people in our community enjoying it. And like you said, if it comes at a very low cost, why not put something in our community that brings so much joy to people?
Yeah,
especially during this time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, the general store, that was $40,000 donated for the building and all the contents through local residents that were moving out of this community to go be with their grandbabies.
Mm-hmm.
And they felt good enough about what we were doing in our community and said, people will enjoy this. Well, I walked out of City Hall the other day and I saw 3 moms, there was 4 ladies, and 2 young ladies that were in their prom dresses.
Oh, awesome.
And of course, they were just beaming from ear to ear. So I walked out and said, "Hey," I introduced myself, said who I was, and said, "Would you like me to take the picture?" And these girls were taking pictures for their prom in front of our little general store. Now, keep in mind, these are probably two 17, 18, year old young ladies that years from now, those pictures are still going to be memorable for them. And it's at their little general store right here in the heart of Mount Juliet.
Yeah.
That's worth everything that was invested in that. And that does my heart good. And Tyler, I know it does yours as well. And that's why we're doing the little things we do as community pride. And we're going to do everything we can to continue that process in our community to protect our citizens and enhance their quality of life.
Yeah, well, I know when you leave Mount Juliet and you visit other communities and you come back, that's when you truly realize how beautiful our community is, but you also appreciate the fact that it's a clean community. You don't see a lot of trash or debris, and if there is for any period of time, it's cleaned up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we just, you don't have to drive far to realize how beautiful our community is and how much pride we put in keeping this city beautiful.
Yeah.
You've mentioned this before, but it's kind of like the broken windows theory in law enforcement. If you have an area that's crime ridden where, the windows are always broken out, there's a lot of graffiti, that tends to grow like a cancer and infect the whole area. But if you keep maintaining it, if you stay on top of it, you don't see the growth. And actually, it's better to keep it maintained because it's cheaper in the long run.
That's exactly right.
If you're not getting into a situation where it's going to cost massive amounts to clean something up, and the maintenance we do to keep this community beautiful is awesome. And hats off to that group of people and employees that do that, because they do a fantastic job.
They do. They work hard. Thank you for saying that, Captain.
Sure. So, all right, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. I see a lot of questions and comments on here. And if you have a question, just leave those in the comments and we'll try to get to you. But here's a comment from Kathy Brown. Kenny, she says, Mount Juliet is a wonderful community. She feels safe while shopping here, unlike surrounding communities. And that's what we love to hear. Georgina, she says, we have enough negative in this world. Got to spread love, kindness, and compassion. And that's awesome, Georgina, and you're exactly right. John Kennedy with Kona Ice, he loves Mount Juliet and appreciates all we're doing to keep us safe. Thank you for that kind word there. And moving up here, and Kathy Brown mentioned again that bowling area sounds wonderful and family fun. And I know we're always trying to find more entertainment type businesses to come to our community. And we receive the bowling alley stuff a lot, skating rink stuff a lot. And they're a little hard to support. But.
Yeah. You think, Captain, we've been trying for years. A lot of things we might have had as kids, bowling centers, skating rinks, things like that. They were really popular back in the day, and whatever reason, they grew out of favor. But they're making a comeback. A lot of things that were here years ago. So sometimes it takes a little while because the numbers have to make sense. Right. But I think of Kona Ice, for example, and I think of Mr. Kennedy, you see them all over town. And that reminds me so much of when I was a kid, the popsicle truck came around. And the enjoyment I felt running after the popsicle truck with my change in my pocket trying to buy something, that's just a modern day same thing, that it creates memories for a lot of people and opportunities. And we appreciate the folks like that. And we're going to work hard to do everything we can to enhance the city and hopefully bring a bowling center and other things to the community that our citizens won't deserve.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I think with cell phones today, and every time I see younger generation, even me, I'm constantly on my cell phone, either doing work or reading the news on Twitter or Facebook, and you get immersed. And I think that kind of takes away from the things we used to do as entertainment, such as only thing you had to do was go to the skating rink in Mount Juliet that night, So I think that's why it makes it a little bit harder to support those businesses that are just for entertainment purposes.
Mm-hmm.
I think you helped Lena Hendricks at some point. She says, great help from Ken Martin on my situation since the straight line wins. And she just wants to thank you for helping her. So
thank you. Most welcome.
That's awesome that she got on here to say that. And let's see here. Rama has the question to Kenny, when can they expect tree trash pickup in the Providence area? And I know it's still ongoing. I saw the grapple truck traveling down Lebanon Road today with a full bed of limbs that it picked up. So Kenny, do you have any idea on that? I know they're working, they continue to work hard.
They do. Yeah. They're almost working about 7 days a week. The only day they got off recently was this past Monday. And that was because it was a holiday and we felt like they should take a break and get some rest, even though they wanted to work. If Rama will do me a favor. They're on a schedule, is what they're trying to get back to now, because we only have a small group. So as you can imagine, they're making a schedule throughout the city like we used to with a chipper truck. We have a chipper truck service as well, but with these grapple trucks, we can pick up so much more. If they're curious about when they'll be back in their community, if they want to, they can call the city hall at 754-2552 and ask them to forward you up to our public works department. And Miss Donna or somebody at the public works department will be able to tell, if you can give them your street address, they can give you an idea of when they'll be back around on your loop again. Because I get it. I wouldn't want a bunch of limbs laying in my yard and out there to look at, but I can promise you they're working hard. We are running a little bit behind because we got the tornado and then back to back with the windstorm. And it's just, I forgot how many cubic yards the other day that we had hauled off in just tree and brush debris. But then you think of the tornado debris as well. We're talking about whole homes, countless of them. There's a big pile over on Clemens Road. If you ever want to go see it, you should have seen what it was before, and also York Road. That all has to be separated and then taken to two different landfills. So thank you so much for your patience out there. But if you're wondering when they'll be around, they can get that for you at the Public Works Department.
Great. And Rama, I typed that phone number in the comments so you can reference it later for City Hall to get in touch with Public Works. There's Courtney. She's saying she's so glad that Kona Ice visits their neighborhood. Her son is currently awaiting for y'all's arrival today. So John Kennedy, I would get over to Courtney's neighborhood. You have a little one waiting on some Kona Ice. Deborah Langston, 35 years of loving Mount Juliet. That's a long time for Mount Juliet, and awesome, Deborah. I met a awesome lady yesterday too, Adele Clinton, and she has lived there for a long time. She turned 100 years old yesterday. Wow. And the mayor signed a proclamation for Adele Clinton Day for yesterday, May the 28th, 2020, and we got to surprise her at her home. But her home used to be on Barrett Drive, but it was destroyed during the tornado, and she was injured during that. She has since recovered, and she moved to another place with some family. And it's just an awesome story to hear her story. During World War II, she was helping in the factories, create equipment for those that were serving, and just a long, amazing story with an amazing family that she raised. And to think she's 100 years old and has life in her like she's 40 and 50 is just absolutely something amazing to see.
Yeah, and what we could learn from her. Then
we have our friend Pops Martin, and Marty Martin was a sergeant with our police department for a long time, Kenny's dad, and he was the mayor of Providence Marketplace forever. And Pops, you fostered so many great relationships with the teenagers who used to hang out at Providence Marketplace for all hours and ends, and you kept that place so safe for many, many years just by having your presence there. I know that was your passion to continue to patrol and be there for all the teenagers that hung out there. And we appreciate all your many years of service with our police department. I know you've since retired with us, and we hope you're doing well at home. And we get updates from time to time from your wonderful son, Kenny Martin, our city manager. But thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Dad, I tell Mom I said I love her and I love you too. And thanks, Dad. A lot of people don't realize when I was chief, they called my dad Papa Chief. So hello to Papa Chief out there. Hope you and Mom are having a good day. Love you guys.
Awesome. Kathy mentioned something like a Dave and Buster's with games, bowling, and a restaurant would be awesome. I know you try to work your magic, Kenny, on attracting something like that here. And I think at one point in time, we were about to have a trampoline park event, and their business just wasn't doing so well, and they had to pull out. But I know we're trying.
Yeah, we got a second. That acreage where the trampoline park was going for Miss Kathy. If you're familiar where the Culver's restaurant is, that big 10-acre site between there and At Home Store, the folks that have bought that's the business they're in. They build these entertainment centers a lot like a Dave and Buster's. I actually met with them yesterday. They're out of Sparta, Tennessee, and they've got another location they're looking at doing in Cookeville. But of course, as you can imagine, the COVID-19 has impacted that business substantially. The other gentleman that we're working with for the bowling center has 15 bowling centers across the country. One of those is in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He's a wonderful man. We've been working with him for years. But what it takes is the perfect building, not necessarily the location because it's more of a destination, but you think of a building that large, 30 to 70,000 square feet with perfect ceiling heights. It's 12 feet for every 2 bowling lanes. So you have to have the span width as well. The problem you've got is they need to be able to rent. I know this may confuse some, for about $4 a square foot. And that's unbelievable when you think that some folks on Mount Jet Road are renting for $26 a square foot. And the reason is there's so much investment that goes in a place like that that only sees a small percentage of the day that they're seeing customers, which is primarily from 5 o'clock on at night. And so that's why you haven't seen it, is the numbers just have to work. So just know we're working hard as the economy gets better. We're trying to bring that. But the exciting thing is we're having two different conversations right now with two different groups. So that's exciting. We may be talking about it a year from now still.
Sure.
The fact that we're having a conversation, that's a good thing.
Yeah, very true. And Cindy, just wanted to give a shout out to Pops Martin, because she used to work with Pops at Nashville Gas, Piedmont Nashville Gas. I know he worked out there for many years and retired from Piedmont. So, Pops, you have some fans here watching your comments. And
That's
Tina Hudson Pillar just saying, we are the best. And Tina, this community is Mount Juliet's the best for people like you and business owners like you. And I know you've I think you posted today, I'm going to be wrong, it's somewhere you've been in the insurance business for over 40 years. I think it said 43 years, but I could be wrong. But I know it was 40 something. And that's a long time to be in business, and just goes to show that you do a fantastic.
Hey, and she's my agent, her and CJ, and they do a wonderful job.
Yeah, absolutely. Royce is mentioning the advertising picture on the ground power boxes. So I guess those are the traffic light boxes that we see, and how we've wrapped those to show off or to highlight some businesses in our community who can sponsor those boxes. But with Royce, it really cleans that up. It's not a plain metal box. It's a nicely wrapped box that's beautiful to something in our community.
And Tyler, you know where that came from, that broken window theory again,
Yeah.
And there's very few good ideas I have, but that was one of the ones, and I actually saw it somewhere else. And I was thinking about getting an artist to paint it. And then I had the idea with the vinyl wrap instead, which is a whole lot cheaper. And all those were paid for by local businesses that get an opportunity to not only promote their business, but promote our community. And it's been a great program, and it's also cut down on our graffiti. So thank you, Royce, for saying that. That does my heart good. And at some point, we'll be freshening those up with the businesses, give them a new look.
Yeah. And Kenny, you mentioned that. I went through some crime prevention by environmental design training. CEPTED is the short for that. And one of those topics was graffiti on traffic light boxes. And, so they got local schools to sponsor the boxes and decorate them as art. But just here, our city got with local business community members to decorate our boxes to prevent graffiti. And it's amazing how something like that really can prevent crime. And, there's a lot of science that kind of goes into crime, and it goes into graffiti, and even trash that goes out on the roadway. And it's just interesting. And since we've had, I don't think we've had any graffiti on our traffic light boxes at all, right?
Not since we did the program. They were getting covered before, but since we did this, yes, absolutely. So it's a good program.
Sure. Absolutely. So Reese Smith here, give him a shout out. Honored to call Mount Juliet home. But I know who Reese Smith is, and that's Chaplain Oscar Smith with, I guess his internet name is what I call it. But glad you're here, Chap, and watching.
I like that picture.
Yeah. A little sneaky. All right, folks. Well, Kenny, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close it out and get into the weekend?
Yeah, just continue to pray for our community. Pray for those that are suffering, lost loved ones. I want to give a shout out to a couple of folks with our fire department, firefighter Minton and Captain Mike Leal. This week, we're involved in a pretty serious crash. And anybody knows anything about the history of our city, we've had a lot of tragedy out on that stretch of interstate, and it brings back memories of, Sergeant Jerry Mundy and Johnny Music. They gave their lives for this community out there, and we had some firefighters that were struck earlier this week, and thankfully they were able to walk away from that. But it goes without saying, they saved a life out there the other day. We hate that we lost a truck in the accident, and we're praying for a quick recovery for the person that struck it. But had they not got out there, Captain, I think you'll probably agree with me as an accident investigator yourself. If you don't see a fire truck with lots and lots of lights on it and markings, you likely probably wouldn't have seen the car sitting just ahead with the flashers on. So I want to give them a shout out and appreciate it. A life was at least saved this week, in my personal opinion, and that can be just my personal opinion, of course. And I'll leave that up to you professionals like Chief Luffman and Chief Hambrick and yourself. But I'm thankful that those people are okay. I'm thankful for what folks like yourself get out and do in our community every day, and our our nurses and those people serving us in the restaurants. And I'm just thankful. I'm at a point in my life, I guess, as I get older, that I'm getting even mushier, which I didn't think could possibly happen. And I'm just hoping that other people are rubbing that off. Maybe it wouldn't hip or cool to be nerdy or mushy or whatever, old fashioned, but I hope it comes back because, again, I think we need more of that. Don't be afraid to go up to somebody that comes up to your table that serves you, or the kid at Kroger, and just thank them. Thank one another. If you're doing something different, go out of your way to do something special. Bring a buggy in. If you're out in the park lot and you see 2 or 3 of them sitting out there, we just need to be kinder to one another. And if somebody thinks that's hokey, then they can just think that all they want to. But I am so blessed to call this my home. I'm so blessed to be able to serve the citizens, serve alongside people like yourself. I want to thank Travis Taylor, who's not here today, that got me all set up today, and for what you guys helped doing us get our message out. And God bless everybody. Hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful weekend. And please call on us if we do anything for you.
Yeah, Kenny, you mentioned the interstate and that crash, and really one of the most dangerous places for a first responder is that interstate. And really, because people just don't pay attention. That driver who struck the fire truck obviously did not see the red lights flashing, a lot of red lights on that vehicle flashing, warning about this impending incident that's ahead. And as drivers, we always have to pay attention because we never know when that hazard is going to jump in front of us, where we have to try to react to stop before that. And when you see an emergency scene out there, slow down and move over so you can stop in time should a hazard jump out in front of you. But like you said, I'm glad that those firefighters were able to get out there quickly. They were there way before our police cars were, and were able to sit behind that car, waiting for more resources to arrive. But as they were waiting, that's when that car, a motorist who did not see or was paying attention, slammed in the back of that fire truck. And our prayers are still with that motorist because obviously they're seriously injured, and we want them to completely recovered. But and I'm thankful that our firefighters weren't injured, or the person who hydroplaned wasn't injured. But the interstate's a dangerous place, and we really need to rely on motorists to pay attention because you never know when that hazard is going to jump out in front of you.
Well, and the one thing good about folks like yourself, Captain, and I'm sitting here listening in the background because our city hall is right here by the fire hall. I hear them going out right now. So I always say a little prayer when you guys are going out, or I hear the sirens. And so thank you for what you do, because the one thing that's unique about Mount Juliet is it don't matter who is closest, that's who goes. Because the thing is, and no matter how many you've got with you, is to go to help people because somebody's in need. And I really am truly a believer that had they not been out there, that would have been a far worse situation. So we'll learn from those situations on how we can do better next time, of course. But I'm proud of what they do, and I hope some of them are listening out there because I am most thankful.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the sirens, so I'm looking at my computer-aided dispatch to see where they're going, and there were 2 medical calls that were active, so that they're going to a medical to help someone. Our police officers are on a disturbance, on a shoplifting in progress, and a public drunk call. And there's stuff that happens in our community where emergency responders need to get there quick. So with moving over, if there is an emergency vehicle stopped on the side of the road, you slow down, move over a lane. But when those emergency vehicles are trying to get to a call, you need to open up that path for that vehicle. And that's when you move to the right side of the roadway. We've been seeing recently where motorists will pull in the turn lane. Well, that's dangerous. The turn lane is where this emergency vehicle is going, and they're going at high speeds. And the last thing we need is a vehicle to jump in front of us. And we have to be very careful when we run emergency traffic. So with moving over for a stopped emergency vehicle, you also need to move over for a moving emergency vehicle with lights and sirens, but you just move to the right side edge of the roadway to open up the middle lane for the emergency vehicle to travel.
Yeah. But those seconds matter. I tell you, those seconds matter. The quicker you can get to where you need to get to help somebody.
Absolutely. You kind of got me on a soapbox about.
No, I'm glad you did.
For first responder safety, and certainly very passionate about that. But you see all the near misses every single day, and like you said, you just say a prayer and hope that everything just goes well and everyone's paying attention when you're sitting there on the side of the road or having to block a lane of traffic.
Yeah, and thank you also to your community service program through the police department. It's a lot like TDOT's program, to where Rich and your other crew members will get out there in that service vehicle and set up the billboard and help assist with traffic. That is huge. That helps tons of people. The little small things we do sometimes with community, lockouts where people lock themselves out of their car or whatever. That is huge. Assisting with funerals. it's just a blessed community. So I'll stop there. I'll get to preaching.
And I won't jump on it anymore either, but we certainly live in a blessed community, certainly proud to serve. And Kenny, thank you for always doing these updates. Just the feedback we get from our community, they love it. Today we peaked at 80 people watching it live. There were 50 people right now watching it live. And when I looked at the analytics from last week's video, over 5,000 people watched it. So our message is getting out there to the community, and a lot of people love this public service where they are able to have a positive engagement with our city leader, basically the CEO for the city of Mount Juliet, which is our city manager, Kenny Martin. And I'm proud just to be here and help you facilitate the live videos weekly. So to everyone, thank you for joining. If you like the broadcast, please share it so we can get our word out. Like it, put a smiley face, put a wow face, whatever you want to do, and leave any comments that we did not have any. If you have a question or a topic you want us to cover, leave a comment about that, and we'll be glad to try to answer those questions in the next video or talk about those topics. So please, please, please have a safe, wonderful weekend, and we will see you all soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.